everybody. I'm Marlin Bohling with you, and this is the CommStock channel. We thank you for joining us here today. I want to welcome aboard Justin McKinney of CommStock Investments, and we'll take a look at how we wrapped up the week. We had a lot of stuff going on Friday, and it's going to take maybe a little bit of time to cover all the bases here. But Justin, thanks for coming on board here. I want to remind everybody to like this video and share this video. Make sure you subscribe to it too, so you can get notified of further updates. Okay, we had at least three things that were supposed to happen on Friday. We had the export sales, the weekly edition. We had the cattle on feed report that came out after the close on Friday. And then we were also supposed to have a cold storage report that was going to come out after the close on Friday. I guess first, let me touch on that one. It sounded like they had a little hiccup again. Gee, imagine that from USDA. A hiccup in getting a report out. What did you hear about that?
All it was posted is it will be released on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see. We'll trade the cattle on feed numbers. Look forward to the cold storage numbers. Maybe we'll find something bullish in that. Maybe we won't.
So we'll kick the can down the road here for a few days. Let's start out by taking a look at, by the way, we had a nasty close here in the grain markets to wrap up the week as we get closer to the end of the month. Things got off on the wrong foot when we had the weekly export sales data that came out Friday morning here, Justin, and I believe those were the worst numbers of the marketing year so far on soybeans, weren't they?
Yeah, for sure. On the beans, 56,000 tons. Terrible numbers, continue to just drag lower. We're missing even the sales that are out there. Some bushels switched from unknown to China, which doesn't leave a lot of hope that China's going to step up and purchase those. But maybe as we lift those unknown sales, we'll see a little bit more buy-in. But it just does not look good in the soybean market today. We closed 14 3/4 lower on the nearby, within a day's move for sure of putting a 10 print in front of that. And where do you go from there? I mean, we look back at the charts and you got to go multiple years to see levels where we're at now.
Okay, what about corn? How did they turn out as far as export sales, and how did they actually trade during the day?
So corn was pretty choppy today. It wasn't off to a terrible start at the beginning. Put a higher print in at 409. We did fail to close above the $4, $3.99 3/4. In my mind, Marlin, it was just get it over with. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. We had options going off today. We got basis contracts to deal with. We got first notice day to deal with next week. It was that close. Go ahead and take it out and see where we can bounce from there. Export sales came in at 820,000, which not a terrible number. It was low end of the range, but not terrible. Down about 33% from last week, though. So exports, if you look at the charts, aren't that terribly far off from the 5-year average and much better than last year. So as we move forward, these lower prices, hopefully we can spur some demand. But at this point in time, the charts just do not look good, and we're going to have to tighten the rope on the saddle another notch for next week as we get in to those March 1st notice days.
I know Joe Camp and I were talking on Wednesday about the markets, and he was concerned that maybe we won't be able to pick this thing up by the bootstraps until after we get past the 1st of March, get into a new calendar month or something. Do you kind of buy into that too or not?
Oh, for sure, because the end of the week is first notice day, and then we'll be into March in delivery. I'm not sure that makes a ton of difference other than we'll flush out a bunch of open interest. We started the day yesterday at about 274,000 open interest in the March. Today we're at about 235,000. So we are peeling some of that open interest back, but there's pretty good ways to go yet before we get to first notice day and who actually wants to play in the delivery market.
Yeah, well, let me look at the wheat here. It was a down day in the wheat complex again. Wheat can't seem to find a friend here lately either. What's the deal?
It did, but it did have a good technical move on Tuesday, and we did hold that move. So moving forward, it's possible that it would be strictly technical buying or short covering in the wheat market if we do see a little bit of legs to this, because the stocks numbers just aren't friendly enough. Ukraine had some data out this week. Shipments were up 4.3 million metric ton so far in February versus, I believe, 3.8 in January. So shipments from Ukraine, grain is flowing through the Black Sea. We keep hearing these vessels not wanting to go there, or the Houthis or whatever, causing some shipping problems, but they are getting that grain out. At some point, you have to question, though, how much of those farmers, we're turning the calendar year number 2 into that war. Uh, their prices are not great. You wonder at some point, when do the acres get cut back, Marlin, or production, right? If you can't get your fertilizer, your seeds, things like that you want.
I know you have a lot of clients in the northern plains, and I'm just curious if you're hearing anything from them. There isn't much incentive to put in spring wheat this year. On the other hand, what other options have they got?
Right. I have a client in North Dakota, and his comment was, I can grow 14 different crops, which that's a little bit exaggeration, but none of them make money. I'm probably going to throw some wheat in.
Really?
Yeah.
Would that hold true in the Canadian provinces too, do you think?
Yeah, I guess I would assume so, but I'm not an expert. I don't have any clients that far north. North Dakota is about as far as I go. So
Okay, so it was a lousy close for the week in the grain markets here. Things don't look great for next week. What about the livestock trade? Now, they had a strong day on Friday, and then you had the cattle on feed report after the close. What came out in that?
yeah, so first off, to start with, feeder cattle had a great day today. They closed up $2.52 on the nearby. I question whether that'll hold. Placements came in at 92.6%, 1.79 million head. That was above the average significantly. The estimates were from 81.6 to 94. So definitely at the top end of that estimate. I there's a lot of things we could peel back and talk about that. Are those calves that we saw those huge placements in October? So are those calves now getting churned as these guys can lock up profit that normally would keep them on feed and are looking at these historically high yearling prices saying, I'm out, take them off my hands, I'll make my couple $100 and move on. That sure is possible. We were anticipating, I feel like the trade was anticipating a much smaller placement number today than what we got. And if you look at the sale receipts for the last couple of weeks, we have seen record sales numbers in some of the livestock markets, like the Joplin, Missouri market, 15,000 head 2 weeks in a row. Boy, if you're hanging your hat on lower placements coming in March for February, I question that too. Where they're coming from, where they're going, I'm not sure, but we are finding cattle to place, and that was at the top end of the trade range today.
Well, let's look at the chart then on live cattle or on feeder cattle. I mean, they have climbed a long ways here in the last couple of months. On feeders, it looks like they're still stuck in an uptrending channel, at least on the chart that I'm watching here. How do you read that anyway?
Yeah, agreed. This may be the top end of the channel for a brief time, at least on the feeder cattle with that placement number. Now, if you look at the cattle actually on feed, 104% placed, that was only slightly above what the average estimate was at 100.1. Maybe a little bit more footing in the fed cattle. We did see boxes close above 300 today, or at least at the midday, they were above 300, which is first time in quite a while on that. So the concern always was the product stalling out, packers losing, $70 to $130 a head. Maybe we finally got a little bit of traction in those boxes, and we can get some strength to that fed cattle market.
Well, let's talk about the connection then between that and the financial realm or the equity markets that just had like a blowout day on Thursday. It seems like the sky is the limit when you talk about the financial sector here right now. But is that going to help support the cattle? What if it flames out?
Well, for sure. And, we talk about demand all the time. To me, it feels like the demand has been relatively resilient at these cattle prices. We've been able to sustain them other than the correction after the October report, which we moved 30, $35 lower, but been able to chew that back up. The consumer has purchased it. I will be interested to see what the cold storage numbers are. on Monday when they come out to see what we actually got in inventory. But back to your point, Marlin, I agree. I don't feel like the economy is that great. Obviously, I'm on the wrong boat on that because the S&P makes all-time highs. We continue to chew higher, and at some point that'll set back. And I question, can beef prices hold or fed cattle prices hold at that?
The thing that concerns me is, it seems to be being run up by AI. It's hard to eat AI. I mean, what do you do with it? It's kind of an imaginary, almost an intangible type thing. It seems to be driving this. And that kind of spooks me a little bit.
Well, you can look. You can also tie that into some of the other markets. I've looked at some of those stocks, and the charts on them are just like a moonshot north.
Yeah.
At some point, you would think there would be some profit taking there.
You have the dubious honor of being one of my partners at Commodity Classic next week. I'm actually looking forward to that. And you're kind of an old pro at that, I understand, attending Commodity Classic. And we're going to be having a booth there, I understand, on the 3rd floor. And you and I and Brianne will be there to meet with everybody. So I encourage everybody to stop by and say hi. I wonder what we're going to hear from people there. I'm going to try and set things up so that we can record some comments from the people that stop by our booth. And I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback. But do you think you really get a lot of honest feedback at a deal like that maybe you wouldn't hear otherwise?
I do. Generally, as a blanket statement, if you're willing to spend the money to go to Commodity Classic, you're generally willing to share some information, right? The one thing that I took home last year was talking with some cotton growers. And it will be interesting to see, as we've seen the cotton market shoot up, can we pick up 1 million, 2 million cotton acres going into 2024? That could definitely help the corn and soybean situation. I mean, in all honesty, we need to lose a couple million acres somewhere. So talking with them about cotton acres, also the guys in the northern plains, as you and I just talked about, get a better sample size of what they're thinking moving forward into the spring. Also, the interesting dynamic will be is last year we had really high commodity prices, and there was almost a euphoria over the show. This year we have 4-year lows, multiple year lows, even of inflation adjusted corn significantly below the 2020 level. So it will be interesting to see what the sentiment of the show is. I'm looking forward to that.
And that'll coincide with first notice day too, right? On the March contract.
Awesome day to be out of the office, but
yeah,
I don't pick the dates, Marlin.
Well, anyway, if it works out, what I would like to do is set up a day. Maybe we can shoot for Tuesday, where you and I and Brianne can talk about specifics about the show and what we would like to find out from everybody, and we'll talk more in detail about it then. But just wanted to plant that seed on this program here that we will be there next week and look forward to meeting everybody. Well, I appreciate all the information here, Justin. Good to hear from you. And I guess we'll have to look forward to the cold storage report Monday afternoon. That will come out at, I guess, 3 p.m. Eastern time, right?
That's what the update was. Yep.
We'll get those numbers then. So fingers crossed anyway from USDA. Anyway, thanks again. That'll do it for this episode. For producer Brianne Hendrickson, I'm Marlin Bohling. We'll catch you next time on the CommStock channel. Thanks for joining us on our CommStock YouTube channel. Don't forget, you can also find us on Facebook and TikTok as well.